Hello, today I visited the Lithgow Small Arms Museum. Now today is the 9th of January 2019, and the Small Arms Museum is actually not small arms, they're to do with rifles, turns out to be rocket launchers and things like that. Australia had deemed it necessary to have its own capacity to produce a small amount by global scales of these armaments. So it ramped up during World War I and again during World War II, and limped on during various times and produced anything which fired, basically. It didn't produce artillery pieces, but it produced tanks, rocket launchers, all this sort of stuff. But by the 1990s it was scrapped, and so now it's just a large, huge military complex, except with one small building, and the French company is producing the Steyr, what's called UPG or something like that, some sort of Australian rifle. So this is a light, small NATO equivalent rifle. What I'm going to do is, as I was going through the museum, I took photographs, and at the end I saw some politically incorrect presents, and I brought one present which I'll show you before we launch into our photo tour of it. And this is this thing here, which you can see, this little hand grenade. And what's really politically incorrect about it is that it's a flick mice hand grenade, but it actually produces a bottle opener and screwdriver, and also sports a light up this light there, and a laser. Let's see. Oh yes, the laser should be going close to your lens, so you should be able to see that. So what follows will be just a slideshow of photographs I've taken and the various insights. And it is pretty amazing that as you go through you get these insights, things that you weren't expecting to see, aspects of it that by only visiting these places, not prejudging them, you'll get a feel for it. So I'll just give you a commentary on the photos I took in the order they came off the camera and talk you through it. Thanks a lot for listening.
This is really the first exhibit that I saw, which says, hang on, there's some really unusual aspects and inspiration. There's already a few really original things that I went into this museum. So this is equivalent to a pocket calculator. Unlike a slide rule, this is a disc rule, so the discs rotate inside each other. Now, you've got conventional numbers, but the numbers are written logarithmically. So what that means is that you can move the various arrows to point to the correct number that you're interested in, and then read off logarithms. And then as you read off a logarithm, you can add those numbers together, get something, and then put that back in to calculate it. So it's a two-step process, and it's just a very, very beautiful device. So I'm used to a slide rule, and this is a new thing, so I realised that I'm going to be in for a treat. So coming on to the next thing here. Now this is a picture which I thought, oh, this is amazing. So Finlay was the sort of the old person in charge of Australian armaments, and as you can see here, besides the Lithgow, he spread various armament production sub-factories, feeder factories, which made things to go into this main factory in various things in Sydney, Dubbo, Portland, Mudgee. These are places all around the place. And then there's this thing that's producing 303s, so it produced lots of 303s and machines for the Australian World War II Army. So just to get you an idea, we had other countries had whole regions. We had just really one armaments factory, and this armaments factory would be switched on for World War I, then converted to domestic use between the wars, and then back into military use. Now this type of philosophy has changed, as you'll see it, but the idea is the culture of a personality, and so this is just off the top of the picture is not very well done. It says, "Mein Gotten Himmel, we forgot to reckon on Finlay." So I don't know why this is white, written up white here, and there's a rather poor picture of Hitler. Adolf Hitler, if you don't know, and some sort of him in Japanese garb. Pretty weird, but that's the way it was. Now this is a different game. Small Arms Factory 303 TNT, and this ship blows in half, and it says, "I wonder if they'd be better if they were heat treated." So this would be an in-joke. So heat treating must have been the magic way to make armaments strong and stable. Now this here is a bit of a bitch. You can see the reflection of me in the glass. And this is 66, which is basically like a rolled up poster, but inside the rolled up poster is this rifle, this rocket, and you can see when the rocket goes, the fins flick out. It's a recoilless rocket, so it's back blast, danger area clear, and you pull. This has had a lot of use, this particular canister, and this was produced in the Vietnam War, and you would prepare to arm it, and you pull it out and the little sight would go up, and then you release the safety catch, and you could fire this, and the instructions worked. As soon as you fired it, you had to knee it and break it, because apparently the Viet Cong would go and reload them and use them again. And so what was amazing, that Australia assiduously made all its own weapons, even owned its own tanks. Right? The Leopard tanks, I thought the Leopard was the greatest thing out, but it was apparently a 1960s design from the Germans. But we were making it in Australia for Australian conditions, so we learned of that. So all of the things that I worked with in the 80s into the 90s were all indigenously made. Here's the Australian mortar rounds. So just to give you an idea, we would probably use 100 mortar rounds a year maximum. So you've got a whole factory producing this type of stuff. And as you can see, it's a difficult thing to make, and there's a fair amount of complexity in it. But here's the story for it. I'll read it to you. During the 1980s, a small arms factory developed a sand-cast mortar bomb. That is, you have a casting out of plastic, so plastic wax, the shape that you want in wax. Then you have this special foundry sand, you pack it into the wax, and then holding it very still, you heat it up, the wax melts away, and then you pour in your metal. The Australian Army eventually scrapped the project, and all mortar bombs are now purchased overseas. Well, evidently so, because they're not made in Australia. Just know the date of my camera is a day out, best I can do. This is again the horrible back reflection here. This is the wooden bits for your rifle, and the wood on your rifle is very high quality wood. You don't really oil it or anything like that, and it's got a little parts inside. So on the left is an SLR, and on the right is the Steyr back. And what they're saying is that the wood, which was also grown in Australia, was expensive, hard to make, in short supply, environmentally friendly, and now the Steyr, which is the modern one, which is made out of carbon fibre, which obviously much lighter and more robust, is more environmentally friendly. I sort of like the idea of a rifle being environmentally friendly. Now this is some of the propaganda pictures which you don't get, and it says, and there is this theme that you picked up, and I didn't pick it up before, but there's all this artwork earlier on about the women in the factory painted their work, saying how difficult it was to work for such low wages during World War II, raise a family and do the other things. There was a lot of absenteeism, so there's a big drive to get people to turn up to work to build the arms to fight the Japanese. And so suppose he took the day off, it would be all stuffed. This next thing, I'm really sorry I haven't taken this photograph properly. It says, no petrol or tyres, but plenty of free air have we. Australia's air can be kept free by eliminating absentee. I don't quite, there's something word, some joke that you pick up from that. There's another picture which I didn't take, which is saying you can't have victory with an absentee. So they showed the T in victory missing because there's an absentee. Now this is a funny picture. So essentially the 2nd Division is an Australian division. The RSL have this Australian soldier in World War One bayoneting. You'll see this bayoneting a German eagle. It looks really awful. It's really bad taste. It's sort of animal liberationists and stuff like this. It's an Australian soldier bayoneting a German eagle. This is really bad taste. And this is the picture that was in France. It was when the Germans sort of knocked on the door and came to France in 1940. This is one thing they got rid of, and the Australians are a bit upset that France is not supporting these very grotesque pictures, these statues now. I think we can talk about that now. Now this is an Australian recreational or pistol grip assault rifle that we decided to ban the importation of it, and then it turned out that we had little factories in remote Tasmania manufacturing these little ones and actually exporting them to the United States for all things. So to get rid of them, so we had sort of the armaments factory begat small armament factories, small privately owned things, so people trained in making weapons. The government factories would go out and make commercial things, and of course, just to read through this. The weapon was manufactured in Tasmania by the Australian Automatic Arms. Barrels were produced by the ADA, formerly SAF, Lithgow, for these semi-automatic sporting rifles between the 1980s and early 1990s. So SDI, we were producing, because it was privatised, it was producing sporting rifles. We were just up to eliminate all rifles in Australia. So the government began to buy up all companies and just close them. It basically closed our armament factories. It just in this policy to eliminate gun violence. They believed that the guns were part of the lifeblood of the thing was this armament factory. So there's a massacre in Australia in mid-90s, 94, 96. And we just shut down all armaments manufacturing. Everyone had to hand in their guns. Most of this museum is from handed-in weapons out there. So this is the Australian style. So it's different from your idea of what a black gun is. This is a desert one, all made out of different colours, all very light. And I must admit the SLR had to be perfectly built to be really good. I have a slightly larger head, so therefore I needed a longer butt in my SLR, but they never had them for me. And of course, there's stories behind this. And this is another picture. Again, I can't quite see what it is. It's at a tiny angle because it's on the ground and hard to get a no reflection picture. So it's making the Australian munitions factory, and we're all just building it. And it's called the Master Builder. You'd have to be in the time to know what the various people are and what they're doing and what it all means. It's sort of hard to understand. But it's a picture there. I sort of rather liked it. And this is about occupational health and safety, and this has changed dramatically. With basically fines, there's sort of zero manufacturing, zero tolerance for loss of life. So this, if you read it here, it says that someone, even before the factory opened, a press took off 3 people's fingers, and basically in the first, or in World War II, coming up when the Japanese War broke out, and for Singapore people, there was something. How many accidents were there a month? 20, 30 months easily. One accident a day, basically. Well, not quite. Yeah, well, 2 accidents a day. It's a year. 2 accidents a day. And 60 of them took more than a month to recover. So it was much going. This picture here is I've decided the fact that there's no one there and everything's nice and cleanly swept. This woman's been told to doll up and just hold a machine. Of course, nowadays anyone looking at this would say, "Oh, she's not wearing safety glasses. She's not wearing the correct equipment." And so, if you actually do look at this sort of thing, even in World War II, none of this was allowed. And of course, World War II is before numerically controlled machines or computer controlled machines, and so it just required heaps and people to set the machines. Now this is a small interesting thing. Upstairs in the actual small arms, these are rifles and rather than machine guns or mortars and things like that. These are rifles and sabres. This is a World War I sabre bender, which I thought was rather interesting. You're fighting in war, sabre gets a bit bent and it won't go back in its scabbard, so they've got this thing which allows you to bend them, apparently. A bit odd, if you ask me. Now this is just a blast from the past, and this is the Daisy air rifle. So essentially, you it's a pump action one. So you grab the trigger guard down with your hand and pump it forward, and it puts up air around. It's sort of like it's not semi-automatic, but it's sort of a repeater, sort of Wild West thing. So a lever action, 20-shot tube magazine, spring piston, half meter smooth bore. So it wouldn't be all that accurate. I do go, this is worth reading. I didn't know this picture would work. It says hint for the kid. Free Daisy BB gun and toy catalogue, 30 pages in colour. In Canada, Preston, Ontario. Right to the Daisy company. And it says, just draw a circle around your favourite Daisy BB gun and leave the page next to Dad's place at the table, sometimes between now and Christmas. If we know Pop, he'll be as excited as you when he opens that package when you open that package on Christmas morning. And they're £8 and stuff like that, so that's a fair amount. This is just example that in Australia you just cannot get those soda fountain refills because people use them in weapons, and so that's part of the demilitarisation of Australia. So there's no school shootings anymore. The criminals still have weapons, no one else does. Now this is just a picture. It's just around the corner, and I just really liked it. It's a anti-aircraft thing, but what I like is that the label expands as tree. You get a tree diagram with the label. So the detonator has potassium chloride and antimony sulfate. So potassium chloride provides extra oxygen. Antimony sulfate stops the flame burning too much. It's sort of a very interesting combination. Then mercury fulminate is nitric acid, mercury, and ethyl alcohol. That's how you make it. But it's a beautiful way. I must admit, I haven't seen it. It's a beautiful way of labelling beyond labelling. I really like that. Now, this is a picture of the factory. So the museum's just in a few rooms of the administration block. This is the manufacturing section, and it's got this 1960s sort of feel. It's really run down. As you can see, everything's rusting, windows are broken, and there's a little piece of rope saying you can't go past it. And this is the Australian coat of arms. That's all that would have been red on the left side, and it's basically plaster and it's been washed away. And it'll eventually decay into nothing. So this hasn't been in use for 25 years, quarter of a century, and it's just the thought that this was being put together. So that's a 1960s balloon, you can tell by the bricks. So a lot of the schools in Australia are built in the same sort of architectural style. Going along, this is a picture of the museum, showing the Bren gun, which we made 5,000 of them in World War II. And a lot of the problem is the logistics is a lot of the weapons were produced and they're just stored at the factory because we didn't have an ability to maneuver them and distribute them. So we were really stuffed in World War II. This is just further up, around the factory, and you can see that things are running down. There's a Hales is the company, and they have a firing range which they fire off, but of course there's houses all around, so there's no way that would be used as a firing range. And they're all computer controlled, so things are made at such high precision. I don't know whether you need a live firing range, but there's butts and targets to them to fire and see the quality of their weapons produced. Of course, I think there's something like 20 people just tending these computerized machines which just churn out the small arms. Things have changed. Walking back to the station, is this caught me as, you know, an attempt to move forward. You can see a bit of graffiti there, a bit of reverse cycle air conditioning, but the a la carte restaurant, which sports beer and a glass, and then night spot. Right, wow. I think it's the Royal Hall, Royal Imperial Hall. It's an old picture theatre, and you walk past something that is a dive, but you look into it and it's been released for a long time. And this is just the architecture of Little Lithgow Station. It's, I don't know, Lithgow has been historic, nothing to do with historic, no money has been pouring into the place, and you've got a little 1940s railway control shed with your elevator to take goods down. So you can, so the main sort of life of Lithgow was an iron foundry. So in Lithgow there was coal mines, ironworks, all the raw materials for the war were around Lithgow. And at a certain time people would take the armaments and load them onto the trains and actually go down through that. So that's the story, and we're back to where we've gone. Thanks for listening.